Alright, Mr. Miyagi, today I'm going to do a small segment. I forgot to do this the other day and I've been kind of wanting to share this with you guys. It's really restricted to traveling. So one of the things that we use the most when we travel, obviously, not only our cameras and stuff like that, our phones, and we're always struggling to find cheaper options to use our phones out of our country. Because in Canada here, it's actually quite expensive for us to use the phones outside of our country because of roaming charges, and I know they have these travel plans, but they're overpriced. So I tend not to use those kind of services. I found a couple options at the beginning when I started traveling years and years ago, before this technology came out. Is I used to buy phones. Usually, you find them in the Chinese phones, like the Redmi's and the Realme's and the Xiaomi phones. And I've used those for years and years and years. And they've always had dual SIM. And what that basically means that the SIM cards, that the little chip cards that you put in that connects you to your service provider, like for you guys, AT&T, Canada would be Rogers or Bell or whatever. That chip connects you to that network, and then you can use your phone accordingly. What the dual SIM does is the SIM card has two slots. So you can actually put two SIMs in the actual phone. If you guys already know all this stuff, you can just skip through this video. This is for people who are not aware and who want to learn about eSIMs and using a cheaper method of using your cell phone out of their country. And I've been kind of wanting to just share this with a lot of people. I just keep forgetting to do this. Anyways, the dual SIM allows you to physically put another SIM card in your phone. What that basically means is I'm going to, let's say for instance, I go to Jamaica every year, and I go to Jamaica and I would go to Digicel, which is their main network provider for cellular and data. And I would go to the shop and I would actually physically buy a SIM card, and you can buy them for like a week and use it for a week. Costs you like, $30, $40 a week, US. And then you would have data and voice, and you would have a number for that week that you're there on vacation. And you have to physically put the SIM in, blah 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 blah. Back in the days, the phones were locked to the service provider. So your phone was locked to, let's say, AT&T or Rogers, that kind of. You couldn't use your phone even if you had a SIM card outside of your country. You couldn't use a SIM card because it was locked to your country. Now, they mandated a law saying that you couldn't do that. Companies have to unlock their phones. So what that allows us to do is when we go to another country, we can take our existing SIM out and we can put that SIM into the phone, and then buy a package, a weekly package or a monthly package accordingly to that country's service provider, and use that phone. So we're not paying roaming charges or long distance charges, that kind of thing. The company here used to be infamous for charging ridiculous and sending out a bill for roaming charges, and they were like hundreds of dollars when they came back from a week's vacation, because they used their phone thinking that it was okay, it wouldn't be that much. People were getting charged like $1,000, $800 just to use their phone for a week. Nightmares like that we hear all the time. So that technology has kind of changed, and that law has kind of changed. Now that when you buy phones, they're typically unlocked, or when you request a service provider has to unlock that phone for you legally, and so that you can use your phone outside of the country. Back in the days, years ago, it used to be physical SIMs. Okay, so these are the SIM cards you put into the phone. And the pain with the SIM cards is that you have to know what you're doing. You have to physically take the SIM out of your existing SIM and put the SIM in. They're so tiny, right? You got to kind of have some technical awareness of how to do something like that. And the worst part about it was to find a cell company when you're in a foreign country. Like, find a cell shop to go buy the physical SIM and then put it in and activate it, or have them activate it. And sometimes they'll charge you to activate it, to activate that SIM for a week, right? So economically, it was still better than paying your country's roaming charges and long distance charges, but it was just a little bit more inconvenient, a little bit more hassle. I did it. It's not a big deal. To save a few dollars, it was worth it, right? It was save quite a bit of dollars. It was worth it. So we've gone past that now. We now have phones, and this technology is starting to move into more and more phones. Right now, it's only certain phones that have this technology, and it's called eSIM. It basically stands for, I think, electronic SIM cards, or embedded SIM cards, or something like that. You no longer have a physical slot for a SIM, okay? And what it does basically is that SIM card, that it's like a blank memory card that's a SIM chip that's actually in your phone, and you can keep programming that SIM card via the internet or whatever, via app. So you no longer have to go to the store and buy a physical SIM and put it into your phone and use it. And this is great. This is great. And unfortunately, right now there's only a few phones. I believe right now iPhones have them. Most of the models of the iPhones have them. Most of the Samsung, only some Samsungs don't have the eSIM technology. I know some of the Xiaomi phones have them. I have a Redmi Note 13 Pro, and it supports eSIM technology. The Google Pixel, I have the Google Pixel 7. It has the eSIM technology as well. If you're in the market for a new phone and you plan to travel quite a bit, find a phone that has the eSIM support, because it can save you literally hundreds of dollars in cellular charges. And it's so convenient. And in this segment here, I'm going to jump into my PC doing and show you how to do this and where to go and the pricing structure of using an eSIM. It's relatively simple. Basically, you just go on a site, pick the package that you want. There's so many different sites. It'll actually send you an email, and you have an account, and you can go into your eSIM, and it's a QR code. And I'll show you kind of how to do it. I can't really do it because I don't have an active SIM right now. I did order one that I'm going to be using next week when I go to Jamaica. I found out with eSIMs now that you can do voice, you can do data, mostly data, because I typically don't use voice. Even when I had my SIM and I'm out of country, I very rarely use voice, because we have apps like WhatsApp, Skype, a Messenger, that kind of stuff. It's all data driven. It's not voice. The only thing you can't really get is text messages. But again, when we have a setup with my family and friends that when we hit a foreign country, we completely go WhatsApp, right? Or we can go Telegram. And in Telegram or WhatsApp, you can call like a real phone, you can do video chat and that kind of thing. It's all data driven, and that's where this eSIM comes in. There's no reason you can buy eSIMs that have voice and texting, but it costs a little bit more. But it's really, I tried it and I never used it, so it's kind of a waste of money. So I just stick with data now. But that's completely up to you. The option is there for you to choose. If you find I use voice a lot, then yeah, you can buy the voice option. It just costs a little bit more. It's still going to be cheaper than what your service provider is going to charge you. So I'm going to jump to the screen capture, and this is really neat. This is the first time I'm doing this. I've got the OBS studio running right now. It does different windows, and you can do this kind of stuff. And for the first time, because the last firmware on the Ace Pro, I've actually got the Ace Pro running a webcam. So this is filming via my Ace Pro. It's actually pretty neat. It has a face tracking. I don't like it. What it does is it keeps zooming in and out. It tracks your face. If you go in, it zooms in and out. But it changes the resolution. So I like this resolution better. So I don't need the face tracking at all. As long as it focuses it fine. So just bear with me on this, and I'm just going to skip over it. I'm going to go full screen here, and so you can see what I'm doing, and I'll explain it as I go. Okay, just give me a second. All right, guys, I've got this down to a smaller window here. So you're going to see a couple things on my screen here. On the left-hand side, you're going to see my the big screen here, which I'm going to go through the companies that and on the right hand side you're going to see on the top right it's going to be my phone. It's a remote control of my phone there, and bottom right obviously is my ugly face. So just to explain a couple things, the eSIM, it's based on software. When you have the eSIM feature on your phone, you have to go into the setup and go into the mobile networks and the settings of your phone. And in there, it'll have an option to use eSIM. And you'll see on my right-hand side here, if I go to mobile networks, this is a Xiaomi Redmi Note 13 Pro phone. The Pixel 7, the Samsungs, and the Apples are very similar. And each company that you buy the eSIM package from will give you instructions of various phones on how to install the eSIM. They're pretty much the same across the board and how to do it. It's just some phones have different steps of getting there. The Redmi Note 13 phone Pro is actually relatively simple. I go into mobile networks, and this is the screen that's going to come up. And you notice on here, mobile network, my first one is going to be my main one. I'm going to cut out that number so you guys can't call me. And then you'll go down further, and you'll see eSIM settings. And I've got eSIM, use eSIMs. Yes, there is no activate. It's on eSIMs, because if you have eSIMs, but right now, on the second slot on the top here, you'll see it says inactive eSIM. So there's no eSIM installed. So initially, what I'm doing is when I'm buying off a company like Holofly or MobiMatter or AlloSIM, I'm programming the that company's eSIM into that SIM2 that you see on the screen there. So right now I've got nothing there. And when you're done, you just delete that eSIM, and then you can reprogram it over and over. It's unlimited. You can keep reprogramming that eSIM onto the phone. So for me to, let's say I go on, if you look at the screen here, on one of the companies I use is MobiMatter. There's a bunch of MobiMatter, there's AlloSIM. There's literally like 15, 20 companies that do this, and they all have different price structures. So it's like shopping. When you, let's say if I'm going to Dominican Republic, I'll go on all these sites. I've got them all bookmarked, and I'll pick Dominican Republic, and I'll go through all the price, and everybody's different. Like I'll pick the cheapest one, and they all work pretty much the same. The ones that I pick have pretty good ratings. There are other companies that are like kind of iffy. So I really go for the ones that have good ratings and good reviews and reputable. And there's only about 5 or 6 that I use, and I can usually get a pretty good price out of them. MobiMatter is one of the places that I use a lot. AlloSIM is the other one. I find Holofly and Arialo is they're probably the most used and have a bigger, wider coverage, but they tend to be the most expensive one to use. And you can go through the pricing structure. On here, you'll see, let's say I already picked one out here. I picked Jamaica, and it's going to pull out all the packages that's available. And you pick them up in data packets. So 10 gig, 2 gig, 3 gig. Now, you're probably sitting there saying, hey, 10 gig or 2 gig, 3 gig is not a lot. Or they typically have. You have to understand that if you're at a resort, so you would only really use this when you're outside of that resort. Where I would actually use this if from the airport to the resort, because we shuttle from the airport to the resort, it's about an hour and a half. So that way I have data transmission, and back as well when I'm departing. Or when you're at the resort and you're in a spotty area, the resort that doesn't have data or doesn't have signal, then it kicks in and then you have data, right? But technically I don't use it in the resort because our resort has pretty good coverage. So you would just use the Wi-Fi hotspot at the resort. The other place you would use your data plan is when we were in Dominican, we went on an excursion outside of the resort. That's when you would want the data, because it was a drive out to the islands, and we were doing our thing, and I actually had data on an island out by Dominican, so they have pretty good coverage there through the eSIM. So those are the places that you would require data. And to be honest, if you're buying 2-3 gig, it's more than enough for a week if you're just doing light texting, or if you just need it for communication purposes, that kind of thing, sending the odd picture. If you're full multimedia and you're streaming or that kind of stuff using data, 2 gig, 3 gig is not going to be enough. You can't buy higher data packets. You can buy 10 gig, 15, 20 gig, and their price structures, obviously, they'll be a little bit more. And some countries are more than others. So, for instance, Cuba was really tough because Cuba, they have very strict laws in terms of internet providers. So it was tough for me to actually get a service. There wasn't a lot of places that offer eSIM services in Cuba, but I did find one. It wasn't that bad. It was I think $20 for the week that we were there. For example, if you look on the screen here, they have 10 gig for 30 days, and you'll see on here. It'll tell you the validation, so it's good for 30 days. The data packet, which is 10 gig, and then the price, which is $81, right? Now, 10 gig is saying $81. This is in Canadian prices. So let me just switch it over to US, if I can. I don't think. Oh, here we go. So this is more universal US pricing. So $55 for 10 gig, and that's good for 30 days. And 10 gig is a lot. Like when we were in Italy, we bought a 30-day package, and I bought 10 gig, and I had a coupon. And I think it cost me like $28. And all the time that I was in, and it's a Europe one, so I can use it in Italy and UK and everywhere. And when I got back, I had 1.5 gig left. And I was there for 4 weeks, 3.5 weeks, right? So I was right at that 30-day mark, and $28 for 20, for 3 weeks was awesome. This is where you can save money. It's using eSIM technology. I know sometimes the US companies, because you guys, it's different for you guys because you guys have a lot of service providers, you guys have a lot of competition, so they may offer you better travel plans for your cell. But do a comparison and see, because eSIM is blowing up right now. It's crazy, especially when you're in Asia or if you're going in very far away. This might benefit you in terms of cost factor. In Canada, it's very different. Canada, we are monopolized in terms of our cell service. We only have really two big companies that basically takes care of Canada, and our cell cost is probably one of the highest in the world, compared to a lot of countries, especially the US. This benefits us a lot more. But again, I know a lot of Americans, we have a lot of American relatives, and they use the eSIM. So it must be some benefit to using an eSIM, especially when you're in farther areas like Asia and those kind of places. But anyways, back to this. You'll see on here the structure, and they're pretty much the same. So I'm going to go from MobiMatter to Holofly. Holofly is another one that's really big, and you'll notice their prices are like 3 gigs, 34, 7 gig. Like, they're more expensive, but they have a much wider coverage. They're one of the oldest eSIM companies, Holofly, and also Aralo, which is this company. I can never pronounce that. It's Aralo. They're one of the biggest providers for eSIM as well, and they have a larger coverage. But these two are probably the most expensive of the ones that I use. I very rarely use these ones. The one that I use a lot is I've used MobiMatter quite a bit, and they're pretty reliable. I never had any issues with them. I used Maya when I was in Europe. They're very good for Europe. Some companies are better in certain areas of the countries than others, and their pricing structures are better. So you got to kind of have to shop around a bit. MobiMatter, I find, generally is pretty good for Caribbean areas, South, those kind of areas. They're probably cheapest, and eSIM is probably another one that's pretty cheap in the Caribbean area. So I bought the eSIM one. Honestly, so I'm going to reserve back. I only need 2 gig for a week. I know, it's funny because you're probably thinking, because don't forget that transmission for phones are much less than PCs. So data transmission on a phone, when I'm pulling up a website on a phone, it's much lighter in terms of data transfer than it is for a PC for the same site, because the PCs are designed for higher bandwidth. They're more complex, they're more graphic intensive, and their files are larger, so you're pulling down more data on a desktop. On phones, different, because I used to develop for websites, and I used to develop through multi-platform. So I develop under PC, Mac, I develop for mobile devices, that kind of thing, and they're very different coding. The coding that gets pushed out into mobile devices are much lighter in terms of data. So that's why 2 gig doesn't sound a lot, but it's actually quite a bit for mobile devices. Even for a tablet, tablet's a little higher, just because they're a large screen and they're pulling down more data. But anyways, you see the structure on here. What I would initially do is, let's say I want to go with the Caribbean 10 gig, and I'm going to view the offer, and I can buy now, okay? And some of these sites are pretty cool, because some of these sites, if you look hard enough, just do the company name and do coupon code, and chances are you'll find a coupon code for that company. I always do. I always feel like 5% off or 10% off. Every little bit counts, right? And if you go on YouTube, there's a lot of people that do reviews on these eSIM companies, and they always have a coupon code on their link, affiliate code. So you can also use that and get a discount. So keep an eye out on that. Before you do your checkout, go and look for coupon codes, because 99% of the time you will find a 5% or 10% coupon code. Hey, $2-3 off, it's pretty good. And a lot of these companies, as you buy from them, as you use their companies, you accumulate reward points. Those points you can use for your next SIM. For example, MobiMatter here that I bought from, when I went to Dominican Republic. My last thing, and when you refer somebody, because I have a friend who I got into using eSIM, we travel with them, and I referred him, and then I get money for it. He gets a discount. I've got a $5 balance, reward balance towards my next purchase. If I was to buy this 10 gig data plan, which cost me $59, I get another $5 off of that. That keeps accumulating as you keep using these eSIM companies, and they're all pretty much the same. Like MobiMeta does it. AlloSIM has Allo Cash. Already, this one that I just bought for Jamaica was 2 gig. Was like I think it was $20, but I got a coupon code, so I got $2 off, and I have accumulated 76 cents for my next purchase. So it keeps going up and up and up, right? Initially, what you do is when you buy an eSIM like this, you'll get an email on the phone. You have to download the app and sign up for the account. It's a lot easier. I know a lot of people don't like to do that, but it's a lot easier to install your eSIM and to top up if you need to. So let's say if you're out and you're using your eSIM and you happen to use a lot of data and you run out and you need to top up, it's much easier to do it on your phone than it is to find a PC and then jump on, log in, and then doing it that way, right? But I've got all these signed up. I've never had any issues with privacy, that kind of thing, or any spam from these guys. They do send you promotions and they do send coupon codes, so it's kind of nice to have that, because you will get, hey, you know what? Here's a 20% off, whatever, blah 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 blah. Right? You can use it for the next purchase. When you get the email confirming your purchase for, let's say, for my Jamaica, I go on my account, okay, and you can keep adding SIMs. Like you can just program delete, add another one, and it's that easy. And when I get this, I'll let it sit, because I'm not leaving till Monday, next Monday, not this coming Monday. And when I'm on a plane Monday, once I get on a plane to go to Jamaica, I will deactivate my country's service provider, and then I will install the SIM, my Jamaica SIM, through this company called AlloSIM. It's now embedded into the eSIM part where you saw on the screen here. Let me just pop it up here. It will actually embed this inactive SIM, and it'll say the company's name, AlloSIM, right? And once that's embedded, don't activate it, don't turn it on. Just leave it off, because there's an option to activate the SIM. When you land in the country, so when I land in Jamaica, once I land, I will activate the SIM, because I'm now within Digicel, which is their main service provider. The towers are there, and it will actually lock onto the tower, initialize. It takes usually about 2 to 3 minutes to do it, to initialize a SIM. And once it initializes, it'll tell you that you now have data. So it's that easy. And then I can use my phone just regular. I just can't use voice or texting, but everything gets switched when I'm on vacation. When we're on vacation, everything, my family, my friends, everything switches over to WhatsApp. Now, the neat thing about this particular SIM, eSIM, is you'll find this with other companies. AlloSIM is in conjunction with Hushed. I don't know if you know of a company called Hush. They provide a phone number and texting via data. And what I mean by that is it's like VoIP. I don't know if you remember the old days of voice over IP. It gives you a phone number that you can use with other people, so people can call that number and get you on the phone. And it's an app that comes up. It's the Hush app, and you can use it like a phone, and it actually texts like a phone too. AlloSIM is pretty cool. So for every purchase that you make with AlloSIM, it will give you a phone number and a text number. So you can use Hush to do like regular phone calls or stuff like that. Now, where would that come in handy? For example, a while back ago, I've never had this happen since then. A while back ago, we were on an excursion, and I had to find out some information from the place that we were going in terms of their policies and rules. And there was no way to contact them other than using a voice number. You can't do it with WhatsApp. And now I think they've changed it. Now I think you can contact them through WhatsApp. But there's still companies, some older countries are still traditional, old-fashioned countries that don't have that kind of technology, don't have WhatsApp signed up. So they still use traditional landlines. That's the only time where I would see using a phone number being useful, because if they had a landline that I can only call, With a data plan, I can't do that. But with the Allo SIM, with the Hush embedded into it, partnered up, you can use your data like a phone because you actually have a phone number on your phone. It'll be localized to that country, obviously. Companies like HoloFly or Arello, they also give you a voice option. It costs more because that way you have data as well. Just like using your phone, there's no difference, right? You just get a number according to that country code. And with eSIM, which is kind of cool because eSIMs don't roam; they have no roaming charges. For example, when I was in Italy, I bought a Euro SIM, an eSIM plan, and I could use it all through Italy. I could use it in UK and that kind of France and stuff like that. And there was no roaming charges. You know what I mean? You're just using data. So which is kind of cool because our service provider here, if you go out of your country and you use your phone, they'll ding you roaming charges, and the roaming charges are insanely expensive. They gouge you on that. I don't know why they do that. You know, they anyways, people are moving towards this and they're losing money. The process of the eSIM is, I have a programmable chip on in my phone. Okay, this phone acts as a SIM card, and I no longer need physical SIMs to use my phone outside of my country. That's the purpose of the eSIM, and it's so much easier for me just to buy from one of these companies. I'll just pick the right price, the cheapest price, and I'll just buy it. It gives me a QR code. Okay. When I'm ready to activate or embed that SIM or install a SIM, I just take my phone and scan that QR code. Now, the easy way to do that, I find, okay, wait a minute. If I have my phone, the QR code, and my account's on my phone, how am I supposed to scan a QR code with my phone when the QR code's on my phone, right? But you can actually, there's a couple ways of doing it. If you're in that position, there's actually a code that you can actually manually punch in. It's the ID code of that eSIM, and it will embed that SIM by using that code. This is more typing for you to do. I just prefer to do it on my QR. So much easier and faster. So what I did, I've got a system set up that I have my tablet, and all the eSIM accounts that are on my phone are also on my tablet. So as long as I have internet, and you do need internet to install that eSIM. So that's why I do it at the airport, because at the airport you have free Wi-Fi. When you're at the airport, you would just basically log in with your tablet to the Allo SIM account, pull up the SIM that you bought. It'll come up with a QR code. Take my phone here. Okay, I'm going to show you on my phone. Okay, and I'm going to go manage eSIM, and you see a little QR code comes out, and I just scan it on my tablet, and automatically installs that eSIM onto my my eSIM inactive eSIM number 2 here. And then once I've done that, don't activate it. Turn off your phone. As long as you're at the airport, you can use the Wi-Fi. When you're on the plane, go in airplane mode. Make sure you disable your existing provider in your country, because if you don't, that could still be running in the background, and you don't want that. Roaming charges, right? And that happened to I think my wife one time. She forgot to shut it off, and she got dinged. Thank God we caught it in time that it didn't cost us that much. Once you're in the country, you would just turn on your phone, get out of airplane mode, go to the SIM part, and there'll be a little button that says activate or turn on. Turn it on, and it'll go through the initializing process to the existing tower of that country. So if you're in like the Caribbean or Jamaica, it'll start locking onto the tower, initialize your phone, and then it'll tell you have data, and you'll notice because all your messages will come in and all your notifications will start coming in on the plane. My phone just goes nuts when I land once it connects to the internet. But anyways, that's the gist of eSIM. It's really, honestly, guys, it's really, really useful. Like, I've been traveling for, what, 15, 16 years now. And this technology is relatively new. It just came out, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. Or it saturated the market about 4 or 5 years ago. And only certain phones have them. And still only certain phones have eSIM technology. And I wish this is a standard for all phones. And I think they're going to start making it that way. But yeah, that's great. And you can always, if you find that you run out, you kind of gauge how much you use. If you find that you run out 2 gigs not enough, you can always top it up. And the nice thing about eSIM, as long as let's say if I'm at the hotel and I'm running out of data, and I go on my tablet or my laptop at the hotel using Wi-Fi, I can check all the other companies, see if anybody has a promotion going on. If let's say Holofly has a promotion this week or has a coupon code for Jamaica that's cheaper, I can literally change the eSIM. You're not stuck with that eSIM. You can actually go into the eSIM and delete it, and then you can order another eSIM from another company. And same method, you get the QR code. You can reprogram that eSIM with the new company and then start up another service. And it's just that easy. You know, just think about that. Remember, with an actual physical SIM card, you can't do that. You have to physically go to the shop, to the cell shop, buy another card, get activated, get charged to activate it, and then you have data again. Whereas this, I could do it right on the fly. I can do it sitting in my bed in a hotel room and just switch over to SIM, right? So that's why this is so useful if you're traveling. Anyways, guys, any questions, drop me a line. I hope this helps, because this is one thing that, for travel purposes, that is great. One of the technologies that I love and has helped me so much with traveling. And here's something that I forgot to tell you guys. Let me just look this up. If you guys have a phone that doesn't have eSIM, and I found this out a couple months ago, and I was helping my daughter because she was going to age and she doesn't have a phone that has the eSIM technology, and I was kind of doing some research. There's actually a company that makes a physical SIM card, and it's unlimited. You can just buy the SIM card. I think it's only about $30 US. Let's double check. And it's a company called eSIM, and you'll see this on the screen here. This is the coolest thing ever. Remember I was telling you about the eSIM being built into the phone? So this company has jumped on the bandwagon, and he said, well, okay, unfortunately only some phones support eSIM, and not all phones do. How do we rectify this situation? So what they did was they actually made a physical SIM. They just came out with a SIM card that's programmable, and it's called an eSIM. If you only have one SIM card, let's say if you have the Samsung and there's only one SIM card slot, when you travel, you would pop your existing SIM out that's locked into your provider, your current country provider. You take this eSIM card, you put it in, and you put it back in your phone, and it's just like an eSIM on your phone. So now you can continue on with shopping for a cheap package, and you can just program in to that SIM card, right? Brilliant idea. For people who don't have eSIM technology on their phone, this company right here, and I'll put the link down for this company as well, and all the links of the ones that I use, all the eSIM providers. This is a brilliant idea to have this kind of technology when you're traveling, because for $30 you'll save that in one shot, really, if you think about it. For us, we will. For $30 for the SIM card, and I pay another 20, so $50 it cost me. It's only one time. You don't have to keep buying this every time. The eSIM you can keep reprogramming. It's unlimited. This is neat. This eSIM you can program up to 5 SIM cards on it. You can have 5 providers on there, which is really cool. I think mine you can only do 1 at a time, but this one you can do up to 5. And it's unlimited, and this is the only time you have to pay for it. So the next run, when you go on the next trip, you just have to pay for whatever service or package that you buy. Great idea. If you have a phone that doesn't support eSIM, I think this is the only company that makes it. They just came out, I think, a couple years ago, and I think you're gonna see more and more of this come out if phones keep making phones that don't have eSIM feature. I'll drop this link down. Take a peek, guys. If you have any questions, I'll answer them as much as I can. I've been using eSIMs for a few years now, and it's saved me literally hundreds of dollars in cell mobile data. Anyways, guys, have a good one. Have a good weekend. Enjoy. Take care. Respect.